We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast 1. This is Abe, your host. It is July 10th, 2024. And today we're going to be getting into Leave the World Behind, Chapter 6. It's been a couple days since I recorded one. I was going to do one on my day off, and I ended up doing a responding to comments video. But it's okay. I'm back again. We're back into it. I didn't forget about the series, so let's get on with the show. No one had bought cereal. Archie wanted a specific taste, less than the feel of processed grain gone soft enough in milk. He yawned. Sorry, champ, I'll make you an omelet. His dad had this stupid game of being the best at making breakfast. Though he was a good cook, he always put butter on the toast and then put it back in the toaster oven so it melted into the bread until the thing was sloppy, like someone had already chewed it. There was something sad in the way he needed attention for it. Amanda was spreading sunscreen on Rose's back. The television was on, but no one was actually watching it. She wiped her hands on her own bare legs and put the bottle into the tote bag. Rose, you're bringing 3 books for one afternoon at the beach? We'll be gone all day. What if I run out of something to read? The bag is already very heavy. Rose didn't want to whine. It just sort of happened. You can put them in this bag. Clay thought that the girl's bookishness reflected well on them. Archie, can you bring this bag? I need to go to the bathroom. Archie lingered in there before in the mirror. He was wearing his lacrosse shirt, the one he'd cut the sleeves off of, because he wanted people to see his muscles. And he studied them, happy with what he saw. Hurry up, Clay called to his son, the irritation that necessitated this relaxation. I've got lunch in there, and water, and the blanket and towels. Amanda was pointing at bags. Sure, they'd forgotten something, so best laid plans. I've got it. A little Christ under the breath, which was more of a reflex than he realized. Archie took the bag from his father, left by the sofa. It weighed nothing. He was so strong. The family trooped outside, loading their things, and buckled their bodies. The GPS churned, unable to locate itself, or them, or the rest of the world. So, once again, the blackout might have started. Without much thinking about it, Clay found the road to the highway, and the satellite recovered its hold on them, and they drove under its protective gaze. The highway turned into a bridge that seemed to lead to nothing, that led to the end of America itself. They wound into an empty parking lot. It was early, and paid $5 to a khaki uniformed teen who seemed himself made of sand. Golden curls, freckles, brown skin, teeth like little shells. There was a tunnel from the lot to the shore that carried them past a park, flagpoles towering as redwoods, flags of many nations cracking in the ocean air. What's this? Archie, derisive, even when he didn't mean to be. They stood in flip-flopped feet in a little canyon of concrete, and Amanda read the inscription. It's for the victims of Flight 800, TWA, bound for Paris. Everyone had perished. You heard that rendered as souls. Sometimes, which made it sound more like a grand or old fashioned or sanctified. Amanda remembered. Conspiracy theorists said it had been an American missile, but logic said it was a mechanical failure. We pretend otherwise, but these things happen. So, little stab at conspiracy theorist. Not surprised. Let's go. Rose tugged on the tote bag slung across her father's shoulder. It was hot, but the wind was relentless, bringing in a chill from the void of the ocean. There was something arctic in it, and who was to say that wasn't literally the case? The world was vast, but also small and governed by logic. Amanda struggled to spread the blanket, something she'd found on the internet, block printed by illiterate Indian villagers. She placed a bag at each corner to weigh the thing down. The children shed their layers and bounded off like gazelles. Rose investigated the detritus washed up on the sand, shells and plastic cups and iridescent balloons that had celebrated proms and sweet 16s miles away. Archie knelt in the sand some distance from their encampment, pretending not to stare at the lifeguards. Hale girls, sun-lighted locks, and red swimsuits. Amanda had a novel she could barely follow, with a tiresome central metaphor involving birds. Clay had the kind of book he normally had, a slender and unclassifiable critique of the way we live now, the sort of thing it's impossible to read near naked in the sun, but important to have read for his work. His glance kept straying to the lifeguards. So did Amanda's. How could they not? There was a metaphor, less tiresome. What would stand between you and death at its hands of nature but beautiful youth, flat stomachs, nipples the size of quarters, swollen biceps, hairless legs, brown skin, dried hair, mouths perfected by orthodontia, unquestioning eyes behind cheap plastic sunglasses. They ate turkey sandwiches and chips that kept breaking off in the pasty guacamole, a smaller portion without the acrid herb for the dotted upon sun. Then watermelon bracing and cold. Archie slept, and Rose read one of her graphic novels. Archie woke and goaded his father into the waves, which was terrifying. Amanda watched for sharks because she had heard there were sharks. What would one of those teenage lifeguards do if there was sharks? It was pleasant, it was diverting, it was exhausting. The sun was not waning, but the wind was winning. We should go. Amanda picked their empty plastic containers back into the insulated bag she'd found in the kitchen. It was in precisely the spot where you'd store an insulated bag in your kitchen, a cabinet beneath the microwave. Rose shivered, and her father wrapped her up in a towel just as he had done when she was a toddler fresh from the bath. The family trudged back to their car, strangely defeated, and drove back across the bridge. There's a Starbucks. Okay, so no boat slamming into the beach. Not gonna lie, I was kind of disappointed. That's where that was supposed to happen in the movie, and it did not happen in the book. Because I was actually, not that I've been bored, but just critiquing the last 5 chapters, there hasn't really been that much action, and that is when the action was supposed to kick in, and it didn't. So I really don't know what to say. Interesting. There's a Starbucks. Amanda pressed her hand onto her husband's right forearm, excited. He pulled into the lot, and Amanda went inside. Ali, away from the wind, the air was still hot. The shop was the same as all locations of a chain tend to be. But wasn't that comforting? The signature colors, those dependable brown napkins, always a stack in the car for blowing winter noses or mopping up spills. The green plastic straws, the heaviest devotees paying $7 for cream topped milkshakes in cups the size of athletic trophies. She ordered black coffees, though it was after 3 and it would keep her up late. Or maybe it wouldn't, but proximity to the ocean always made her so tired. There was a desultory desanding of limbs using the backyard hose. Archie sprayed the thing directly down the front of his suit, his balls shellacked with actual tiny shells, then figured that was good enough and dove into the pool. He rubbed his scalp and could feel sand being dislodged, drifting away into the water. Amanda washed her feet and then went inside to shower. The house felt reassuringly familiar after fewer than 24 hours. She played a podcast on her computer, something to do with the mind. She barely paid attention to it, and shampooed her hair again, hating the effect of the salt water had on it. She dressed and found Clay whistling as he rinsed the sandy Tupperware. "I'll make pasta," Amanda said. "The kids are in the pool. I'm going to run to the store and get some cereal for Archie." He meant he'd run to the store, smoke a cigarette in the parking lot, go inside, wash his hands, come back with $100 worth of food. They're saying it might rain tomorrow. You can almost feel it. A promise in the air, or maybe it was a threat. She had brought her computer into the kitchen with her so she could keep listening to the podcast. She set it on the counter. "Get something sweet, like pie. Get a pie. And maybe some more ice cream." The night before, post-coital and woozy from the hot tub, they'd eaten an entire pint between the two of them. Maybe some tomatoes, another watermelon, some berries. I don't know. Whatever looks good. He kissed her, an unfamiliar thing to do when running out for a simple errand, but sweet. The window meant that she could watch the children as she did something else. She zested the lemon, dumped that into softening butter, minced garlic, and added that. She used the kitchen shears to hack at the parsley, which had a sharp and astonishing smell. She folded this all together into a thick paste. The hot pasta would dull the taste of the garlic. She used the pot filler over the stove, helped herself to the kosher salt in the pantry, poured a glass of red wine. It made her stomach churn. Red wine over black coffee. The water boiled. Her attention had drifted beyond the pool, through the woods, at the property's perimeter. Amanda saw a deer, then adjusted her eyes and saw 2 more, smaller. Mother and children. Wasn't that fitting? The animals were cautious, nosing through the brush in search of... What did a deer eat? Her ignorance embarrassed her. She strained the cooked pasta, dropped the herbed butter into the nest of noodles, replaced the lid, and opened the glass door. The air had grown cooler. It would rain, or something would happen, and they would have to spend their next day inside the house. There were board games. There was a television. Maybe they'd watch a movie. There was a glass canister of dried corn in the pantry. Maybe they'd pop some, lie about all day. "It's time to come inside, guys." Archie and Rose were in the hot tub, pink as cooking lobsters. Amanda insisted the children bathe and banish that chlorine smell. She poured herself another glass of wine. Clay returned with a surprising number of paper bags. "I went a little overboard," he said. He looked sheepish. "I thought it might rain. I don't want to have to leave the house tomorrow." Amanda frowned because she felt she was supposed to. It wouldn't ruin them to spend a little more than usual on groceries. Or maybe it was the wine. Fine, put those away and let's eat." She wasn't sure she wasn't slurring a little bit. She laid the table, the children, redolent in marzipan, Dr. Bronner's in the green bottle, sat. They were the best kind of tired, docile, almost polite, no burping or name calling. Archie even helped his father clear the table, and Amanda lay on the sofa beside Rose, her head in her child's warm lap. She didn't mean to sleep, but she did, full of wine and pasta and bored by the television's prattle. Amanda was perplexed when she was roused 20 minutes on by an especially shrill commercial and Rose's need for the bathroom. Her mouth was dry. Have a nice nap? Clay was teasing. Not amorous. He was still sated, but romantic. Even better, or rare. They'd made a nice life for themselves, hadn't they? Amanda did the New York Times crossword on her phone. She was afraid of dementia, and felt this was preventive. And the time passed strangely, as it did when measured in minutes before the television. If the night before she'd been eager to look at her work and fuck her husband, tonight it felt more important to linger on the sofa with her children. Archie, dopey, in his too big hooded sweatshirt, Rose, infantile, wrapped in the itchy woolen throw left on the sofa's arms. Clay served bowls of ice cream, then collected the bowls, and the dishwasher ran with its reassuring gurgle. And Rose's eyes looked blank, and Archie yawned loudly. Suddenly, so like a man, and Amanda sent the children to bed, telling them to brush their teeth, but not standing sentry to verify that they did. She yawned, was tired enough to go to bed, but knew somehow that if she moved, she would not fall asleep. Clay changed the channel, pausing a moment on Rachel Maddow. Ugh, I hate Rachel Maddow. Well, I shouldn't say I hate. I'm trying not to use that word anymore. It's a bad word. Where was I at? Oh, and then switching to a thriller that neither of them were able to follow. Detectives and their prey. Television is idiotic, said Clay, turning it off. He'd rather play with his phone. He dropped some ice into a glass. You want a drink? Amanda shook her head. No, I'm done. She didn't yet quite know which switch controlled the light. She flicked one, and the pool and the grounds below it were illuminated. Pure white beams shot through the green branches overhead. She turned the light off, returning things to their black state, which seemed right, seemed natural. I need some water, she said, or thought, and made her way into the kitchen. She was filling one of the IKEA glasses when she heard a scratch, a football, a voice, something that felt odd or wrong. Did you hear that? Clay mumbled. He wasn't truly listening. He checked the little buttons on the side of his phone to make sure the sound was turned off. It's not me. No, she sipped her water. It was something else. There it was again. Shuffle, a voice, a quiet murmur, a presence, a disruption, a change, something. This time Amanda was more certain. Her heart quickened. She felt sober, awake. She put her cup down on the marble counter. Quietly, suddenly, that seemed right, to move stealthily. I heard something, she was whispering. Such moments Clay was called upon. He had to be the man. He didn't mind it. Maybe he liked it. Maybe it made him feel necessary. From down the hall he could almost hear Archie, snoring like a sleeping dog. It's probably just a deer in the front garden. It's something. Amanda held up a hand to silence him. Her mouth was metallic with fear. I know I heard something. There it was, undeniable. A noise, a cough, a voice, a step, a hesitation. That uncategorizable animal knowledge that there's another of the species nearby, and the pause, pregnant, to see if they mean harm. There was a knock at the door of this house, where no one knew they were, not even the global positioning system. This house near the ocean, but also lost in farmland. This house of red bricks, painted white, the very material the smartest little piggy chose because it would keep him safest. There was a knock at the door. All right, so hopefully you've been listening to previous Leave the World Behind episodes. So I kind of told you guys basically, look, at the end of the day, this is a podcast. I wanted to do this obviously as an audiobook, a read along with commentary. But I wanted to finish that chapter there because that's where the ending of the chapter is, and honestly, it's a nice little cliffhanger. So this is the first time 6 chapters in that we're finally getting some action in this book. And they actually took out the White Lion, the boat crashing into the beach. So I wanted to delve a little deeper into that. I found an article, it's short, from the Mary Sue, that gets into the history of the White Lion and its significance, and I think it's important. This is just my theory. Obama helped make the movie, and I think he purposely added in that white lion scene that wasn't in the book. So, this is by a Rachel Alotwski. I'm guessing she's Polish. The White Lion ship in Leave the World Behind carries a dark historical reference. Leave the World Behind is filled with symbolism and subtle references to real-life disasters. However, viewers may not have caught their significance of the oil tanker, which was named the White Lion. Leave the World Behind has been dominating Netflix's top movie chart since arriving on streaming on December 8th. The film follows the Sanford family, whose vacation to Long Beach becomes a nightmare when the United States begins hurtling into chaos, with their technology malfunctioning and their rental Airbnb owners, G.H. and Ruth Scott, arriving on their doorstep. They struggle to understand what's happening and who they can trust. From the movie's onset, viewers have a sinking feeling that something isn't quite right. The camera angles, the score help create an ominous tone. However, the White Lion is the first undeniable indication that something is very, very wrong. What happens in the White Lion scene, and what does it mean? Shortly after arriving at their vacation rental, the Sanfords decide to head to the beach and enjoy a day in the sun. While walking along the shore, the daughter, Rose, notices a large oil tanker on the horizon. Of course, it's not uncommon to see big boats in the distance, so the rest of the family isn't too interested in it. However, Rose develops a sort of preoccupation with the ship, insisting that it's getting closer. She continues watching the boat while the rest of the family lounges in the sun. After some time, she again warns her mother, Amanda, about the boat. When Amanda looks up, she's shocked to see the enormous boat just feet from the shore. Realizing that the boat isn't stopping, the family quickly grabs their belongings and runs. They just narrowly move out of the oil tanker's path as it crashes onto the beachfront amid a crowd of horrified tourists. So there's another thing, like in the book, the beach is pretty much empty because they arrive super early. In the movie, it's crowded. Not that that's important, but it's a very important moment in the film that foreshadows the unimaginable disasters to come. Additionally, it's an event the characters are almost afraid to admit happened, highlighting their denial of the oncoming crisis. The historical significance of the White Lion. Viewers might wonder if the boat and Leave the World Behind has a deeper meaning. Screen Rant suggests It might be based on the story of an oil tanker crashing into a residence near Istanbul in 2018. Like many of the disasters in the film, it could happen in real life. One other thing viewers might notice is the name. There was a ship in real life that was called the White Lion. The White Lion was the name of the English ship that brought the first enslaved Africans to the colony of Virginia in 1619, marking the beginning of slavery in the United States. And I think definitely, if you look at Obama's past, like he was a black supremacist and um, super big into black supremacy when he was younger, like even to the point of like radicalism and stuff. Um, yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. So it doesn't surprise me that he was like, "Hey, let's put a boat crash scene to get for one to get some action," which he's not wrong there, because so far the book is kind of boring. I'm finding it okay. It doesn't bother me, but I mean, there's not much action. The movie is definitely more action packed than the book so far. Given that Leave the World Behind is filled with symbolism, it doesn't seem likely that the White Lion name was a coincidence, especially since the radio station in the family's car was set to 1619. At one point, however, none of the cast or crew have addressed what the White Lion reference means, leaving it to the viewer's interpretation. It is most likely meant to reinforce the underlying commentary on race relations in America. Leave the World Behind boldly tackles racism with Amanda's mistrust of GH, the family's reluctance to let the Scots into their home, and how, even after their behavior, they still seek and expect help from the Scots. America's history of slavery is one component that can't be ignored in the current conversations about race, making the White Lion reference a strong reinforcement of the film's themes. There's also quite a bit of irony in the White Lion kickstarted America's darkest legacy, and then in Leave the World Behind, it also marks the beginning of the country's end. So that's the article. Yeah, that's all she wrote. So I hope you guys found that interesting, and we will read the next chapter. And let me know in the comments what you guys think about the whole White Lion thing. Like I said, I felt that was important, and I just wanted to discuss it. So let's get back into the book. All right, so chapter 7. Who's at the door? What were they supposed to do? Amanda stood frozen, a praise instinct. Gather your thoughts. Get a bat. That old solution. Violence. A bat? Clay pictured the flying mammal. A bat? He understood then, but where would he get a bat? When had he last held a bat? Did they even have a baseball bat at home? And if they did, had they brought it on vacation? No. But when had they decided to forsake that American diversion? In the foyer on Baltic Street, they had a clutch of umbrellas of varying degrees of broken, an extra windshield scraper, Archie's lacrosse stick, some of those circulars never asked for, a sheaf of coupons in rainproof plastic that would never biodegrade. Well, lacrosse was from the Indians. Maybe that was more all-American, on a console table. Beneath a framed photograph of Coney Island, there was a brass object, an artful little torque, that kind of made-in-China gewgaw, meant to add character to hotel rooms or model apartments. He picked it up, but found it weighed nothing. Besides, what would he do? Wrap his fingers around it? Strike some stranger in the head? He was a professor. I don't know. Her whisper was built for the stage. Surely whoever was on the other side of the door could hear her. Who could it be? This was ridiculous. I don't know. Clay put the little object d'art back in its place. Art could not protect them. I don't know why that's such a funny sentence. Art could not protect them. There was another knock at the door, this time a man's voice. I'm sorry. Hello? Clay could not imagine a killer could be so polite. It's nothing. I'll get it. No, Amanda said. Amanda had this terrible flash of feeling, a premonition if the worst came to pass, and passing paranoia if it did not. She did not like this. Let's just calm down. Maybe he was unconsciously channeling his behaviors, channeling behaviors seen in films. He looked at his wife until she seemed to calm, like what tamers do with their lions. Dominance and eye contact. He didn't entirely believe in the act. Get the phone just in case. That was decisive and smart. He was proud of himself for having thought of it. Amanda went into the kitchen. There was a desk, a cordless telephone, a 516 number. In her lifetime, the cordless telephone had been both innovation and obsolete. They still had one at home, but no one had ever used it. She picked it up. Should she press the button, dial the 9, and then the 1, and wait? Clay unbolted the lock and pulled open the door. What was he expecting? The integratory light of the porch revealed a man, black, handsome, well proportioned, though maybe a little short, in his 60s, with a warm smile. It was funny how quickly the eye could register benign or harmless or instantly reassuring. He wore a rumpled blazer, a loosened knit tie, a striped shirt, those brown pants every man over 35 wears. He held up his hands in a gesture that was either conciliatory or said, "Don't shoot." By his age, black men were adept at this gesture. There we go with the race stuff again. I'm so sorry to bother you. He sounded as people rarely did when saying those words, sincere. He knew how to put on an act. Hello? Clay said it as if he was answering a telephone. Opening a door to an unexpected visitor was without precedent. Urban life contained only the guy who came to deliver an Amazon box and had a buzz first. Hi? I'm sorry to bother you. The man's voice was gravelly with the gravitas of a news anchor. This quality, he knew, made him sound more sincere. But just behind the man was a woman, also black, also of indeterminate age, in boxy linen skirt and jacket. "We're sorry," she corrected, and italicized "we." It was so practiced that she had to be his wife. "We didn't mean to frighten you." So, right here, in the movie, it's his daughter. I don't know if I mentioned that in a previous episode. If I didn't, I'm mentioning it now. In the movie, it's his daughter. So, apparently, this is, in the book, it's different. It's his wife. Clay laughed at the thought, as though the idea were ridiculous. Frightened. He was not frightened. She looked like the kind of woman you'd seen in a television ad for an osteoporosis medication. Amanda lingered between the foyer and the kitchen behind a column, as if this provided some sort of tactical advantage. She was not persuaded. An emergency call might be in order. People in ties could be criminals. She had not gone to lock the children's bedroom doors. What kind of mother was she? "Can I help you?" Was that what one said in a circumstance? Clay was unclear. The man cleared his throat. "We are sorry to bother you. A third time. An incantation. He went on. I know it's late. A knock at the door way out here. He imagined how this would transpire. He had rehearsed his part. Now the woman picked it up. We couldn't decide if we should knock at the front door or the side door. She laughed to show how absurd this was. Her voice carried, implied long ago elocution lessons. A trace of Hepburn that sounded like aristocracy. I thought this might be less frightening. Clay protested too much. Not frightening, just surprising. Of course. The man had expected as much. I said we should try the side door. It's glass, so you could have seen us and known that we're just... He trailed off, a shrug to say we mean you no harm. I thought that might be stranger, though, or frightening. The woman tried to catch Clay's eye. The near unison seemed charming to the point of comedy, like Powell and Loy. Clay's adrenaline fermented into annoyance. Can we help you? He hadn't even heard their car, if they had come by car. But how else would they have come? Clay had said we, and so telephone tight in her hand like a child's favored plush toy. Amanda stepped into the foyer. They were probably lost motorists, or maybe they had a flat tire. Occam's razor and all that. Hi, she forced in some cheer, as though she had been waiting for them. Good evening, the man said, wanting to underscore that he was a gentleman. That was part of the plan. You startled us. We weren't expecting anyone. Amanda didn't mind admitting it. She calculated that it might establish her upper hand. She thought it might say, "This is our house. Now what do you want?" There was wind, and it sounded like a chorus of voices. The trees swayed, their heads tossed with abandon. A storm was coming, or out there somewhere. The woman shivered. Her linen clothes could not keep her warm. She seemed pitiable, elderly, ill-prepared. She was smart, and she'd been counting on this. Clay could not help but feel bad, or rude. The woman was old enough to be his mother, though his own mother was long dead. Good manners were a tool that helped you deal with moments this strange. You caught us by surprise, but what can we do for you? The black man looked at Amanda, and his smile warmed further. Well, you must be Amanda, right? Amanda, I'm sorry, but... The breeze eddied them around them, though through their summer clothes. He said her name a third time, and because he knew it would be effective. Amanda, do you think we could come inside? Alright, so that's chapter 6 and 7, and a little bit of a deep dive into The White Lion, an article and commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we will do another episode soon. And, go and check out the first 2 episodes of Leave the World Behind, the read-along with commentary, by your host, Abe Williams. Signing off. You all have a good day.
We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.